Okay, we're good to go.
Tracie Hoffman with us. She is one of our mentors with Standard Process. She is a vet tech that has been, and she'll have to say how long she's been a mentor for Standard Process as a vet tech, but ever since we've been around, she has, so it's been a while. We love all the information that she has been sharing with us over the years related to pets, and we wanted to bring that to you guys. So Tracie is going to give us a presentation on some of the Standard Process products, and we'll have time for questions at the end. And we'll also add a little bit more about what we have available this month at the Natural Path. So Tracie, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly. Welcome everyone. Again, my name is Tracie Hoffman, and I am a veterinary technician and an educator for Standard Process West. I've been working with Standard Process West since 2010, and I have been a vet tech for many, many years. If I tell you how many years, that'll be dating myself. So many, many years. And today what I want to do is go over the importance of whole food supplementation within the different ages and stages of our pets. So since 1929, Standard Process has been dedicated to the field of nutritional supplements and the whole food philosophy introduced by Dr. Royal Lee. Dr. Lee's goal was to provide nutrients as they were found in nature, in a whole food state where he believed their natural potency and effectiveness would be realized. Whole food supplements that we're going to talk about today include dogs, cats, horses, and humans. And today we're going to focus on the vet line. The vet line was introduced in 2002, and this offers a very broad range of maintenance and support in these products. We're going to hit on a few of them. We're also going to hit on some of the human products that we use in the vet world as well. So Standard Process is committed to quality from seed to supplement, and these products are sold exclusively through healthcare professionals. So to start off, I want to talk about the Standard Process Organic Farm. This is located on the Kettle Moraine Basin of Wisconsin, and it contains nutrient-rich soil. You can see how dark and rich that soil is. It is here on the company-owned certified organic farmland that we grow strong, vital plants for use in our supplements. The crops are regularly grown here include alfalfa, barley grass, beets, Brussels sprouts, buckwheat, kale, kidney beans, oats, pea vine, and the ever so popular Spanish black radish. Nature has provided the foundation, and we use organic farming practices to ensure that the quality of our farmland is maintained for years to come. In accordance with our organic certification, we also follow strict guidelines to grow our crops, keeping detailed records of our farming practices. Our farmland is monitored annually by certifying agencies to ensure that only the approved farming practices are used. At Standard Process, we are involved from the moment the seed is planted through shipping the finished product to your door. Dr. Royal Lee, as we talked about, the founder of Standard Process, said, "Whole foods are the best natural sources of vitamins. The key to the highest quality is the manufacturing process, because preserving the whole food complex is a top priority when manufacturing our supplements. We based our formulas on Dr. Lee's time-proven philosophies. Our manufacturing process from raw materials to the finished products takes an average of 6 weeks. Throughout the process, raw materials are handled in a carefully controlled environment and tested for quality." So, we get to take tours, and we go through the farm, and we go through the manufacturing facility, and we get to see this firsthand on how these supplements are actually made. And you get a real appreciation for not only the products, but the people that are involved here. Our research is done at the Innovation Center. The center is located on the North Carolina Research Campus in Kannapolis, North Carolina. In this Innovation Center, there's a couple different divisions. They have a professional media and learning center, and this is home to a professional media and learning center that provides the most advanced educational tools and capabilities available to advanced practitioners' education and their training. We also have a clinic that's called the Clinic of the Future. The clinical practice of the Nutritional Innovation Center brings together credentialed healthcare professionals trained in integrative and functional healthcare approaches to a whole person care. They also have a discovery lab, and the lab features state-of-the-art equipment for conducting innovative research, including work in nutrigenomics and epigenetics. That's a tongue twister. We also use the lab for the complete profiling of natural products and plants to define their active components and impact on targeted health conditions. They also have a science kitchen. The kitchen enables people to better understand and adapt whole food nutrition into their lifestyles, providing a healthier way of preparing food. So we're going to go through a little disclaimer here. Standard process does not treat or cure any health conditions. Rather, the ingredients in these supplements support optimal function in the organs and tissues affected by stress, injury, disease, and surgery. So this is just an additional tool to have in our bag, and we're not doing anything magical. It's just feeding the body. We're giving the body the building blocks to rebuild and repair. So here's another quote from Dr. Royal Lee. Whole food nutrition begins with the sun, water, and fertile soil. So just another picture of the farm with the beets. It's just beautiful. So nutrition is important, and I think we all know that. So here's some facts that I wanted to point out. 98% of our atoms are replaced once a year. The skeleton turns over every 3 months. The skin is new once a month. And the liver regenerates, right? So there's studies out there where they've taken out 7/8 of the liver, and within a year, it can grow back to a full-size functioning liver. So it only makes sense that we would feed the liver, especially if it's an organ that's regenerating. The DNA at the level of an atom changes every 2 months. So our bodies are constantly repairing and rebuilding. So if you've ever had to take any science courses and you had to study about cellular metabolism, you know that there are trillions and trillions of cells in the body, and every cell has a specific function, whether it's taking in nutrients, transporting nutrients, using nutrients to produce hormones, enzymes, etc., delivering products throughout the body, and it's also very important in waste elimination. So for a cell to continue this flow of activity, it must have a steady supply of nutrients to perform its specific functions. If the flow of nutrients to a cell is restricted in any way, some or all of the cell's ability to perform will be affected. Hence, we have a compromised cell. Compromised cells cannot respond to the body's needs. They cannot protect themselves. They can have negative effects of other cells around them. They can also experience buildup of waste products, heavy metals, and toxins. And they may be at risk of attack by virus, bacteria, and parasites. Something to think about today with the coronavirus. So when enough cells are compromised, the body will develop symptoms such as lethargy, pain, fever, nausea, and diarrhea. And this is when most pet parents notice this, and that's when they take them to the vet. Without proper nutritional support, healing can be delayed or incomplete. Now, I'm not saying that without some additional nutrition, they're not going to get better, but I think they'll get better a little bit quicker and maybe a little bit stronger, giving some nutritional support. So you might be asking yourself, what is a whole food supplement? Well, it's a preparation intended to supplement the diet and provide nutrients that may be missing or may not be consumed in our diet. And this includes dogs, cats, horses, and the human diet. I like this quote, and I think a lot of pet parents really understand. Only whole food supplements complete the nutritional gap. So let's talk about some facts about whole food supplements. These ingredients are considered functional foods, and of course we want these to be organic. They complete nutritional patterns, allows the body to pick and choose. So regardless if we're talking about a human or an animal, what we need today may differ than what we need tomorrow. You know, if you're out hiking today and you're in the hot sun, you might need a little bit additional nutrition than if you're just kind of lounging around the house in the air-conditioned room and just chilling, okay? So the body can complete that nutritional pattern by allowing it to do that. Also has been shown to have specific actions on particular tissues and organs. So what are some of those actions? Well, whole foods act as an anti-inflammatory. They also protect the cell membranes. They activate the body's detoxification mechanisms, promote apoptosis in cancer cells. So when those cells are supposed to die off, they do. They also work in synergy with other foods. So the synergistic effect of whole foods. Now, whole food synergy is defined as the added health benefits that food and their constituents provide as a whole. This suggests that the health benefits of any food constitutes will not be equivalent or greater than the health value of the whole food. So what does that mean? That means that there's a lot of studies out there. And we all know that there's certain foods that have different nutritional values alone, but they found that when you add these foods together in combination, they have a different value on the body. So for example, we have the fish and broccoli study. We all know fish is great for us and broccoli is really good for us, but in combination, it's 13 times more effective in the reduction of lipid oxidation than either food alone. Okay, so ingredients have synergy, very different actions when consumed in a whole food form. And standard process whole food supplements is exactly that. They are whole food supplements. So this is one of 3 pages of a carrot, all the ingredients in a carrot. I love this slide, it's pretty fun. Okay, so what happens here is most vitamin supplements take few, and these are usually isolated synthetic ingredients. They put them together and they call their product a complete supplement. Okay, and that's great, except we are not getting the benefits of the whole food supplements. And they may have a good effect at first, but as time goes on, the rebuilding and repairing is not occurring. So it's very similar to the whole food philosophy as far as the analogy of the pocket watch and the vitamin complex. The whole is greater than the sums of its parts. So for example, if you remove one component of a watch and the watch fails to function, mechanically and biochemically, this principle also holds true. So let's take a look at the vitamin C complex. So if you were to run down to Walgreens because you're not feeling well and you're picking up some vitamin C, what you're picking up, most people could assume it's vitamin C, but it's really the outer shell of the vitamin C complex. It's the ascorbic acid. Okay, not that the ascorbic acid is a bad thing, but you're missing a lot of the components in the vitamin C complex. The bioflavonoid complexes. Now this is going to support capillary integrity and stabilize collagen matrix by preventing free radical damage. Tyrosinase. Now this is an enzyme that's going to work on tyrosinine. It's important for amino acids for the brain function. Then we have the factors. We have the P factors, capillary fragility. Okay, this is going to help with any bleeding gums. The K factors. This is important in clotting, the clotting cascade. The J factors, this is involved with oxygen carrying capacity of the red blood cell, okay? So there's a lot of different things that go into the vitamin C complex. And if you take one of those out, the vitamin C complex is not going to work as nature intended it to do so. Even looking under the microscope, if you look under the microscope at natural vitamin C versus ascorbic acid, you can really see the difference, okay? So of course, we always encourage people to eat foods rich in whatever vitamins that they need. And here's some examples. But of course, we've talked about completing that nutritional gap. We don't always eat the right foods. You know, our diets are spread out, and you know, we're going to talk about this, but our pets' diets are even more, they're more now malnourished than I believe our human diets are. So for example, we would consider Cataplex C. This is what we would call vitamin C in the standard process world. So this is a question I get a lot, why pets need supplementation. Well, I'm not here to bash pet foods, but I do have to tell you that pet foods lack the essential nutrients. We want to provide vitamins and minerals, organs and tissue extracts, and botanicals that are missing in the diet. Most pet foods just don't carry that. Also maintenance. Every animal should be on a multivitamin to maintain normal cellular function. And believe me, there's a million multivitamins out there. And pet owners understand that. But the problem is they're led to believe that whatever commercial they see, or whatever's in the grocery store that has the prettiest label, that's the type of supplement they need. So it's really about education. It's about reading the label and seeing what's inside these supplements. Stress, we're talking about environmental and lifestyle, pollutants, vaccinations, things that these animals are exposed to. Did you know that animals pick up on your stress? How stressed are we all right now with the COVID pandemic, with all the election controversy, all the different stress that we deal with in our lives? Our animals pick that up. They feel that too. So they're dealing with that. Surgeries. Injured cells absorb nutrients at a faster rate than healthy cells. Same with illness and disease. Organs, glands, and tissues compromised require increased amounts of high-quality nutrients for regeneration, healing, and return to normal function. Okay, you can't build a brick house without the bricks. You have to give the body the material it needs to rebuild and repair. So Dr. Tom Cameron was a veterinarian that I worked with for many years, and he was a great mentor of mine. And his favorite saying is, every case you see has a nutritional component. So we're talking about animals from ages 6 weeks on up to 16 plus. In that time span, there is some kind of nutritional component that can benefit these animals, whether it's just to maintain health, or maybe they're dealing with an illness or a disease that we need to support them. So JAMA put an article out in June 2002 that subclinical deficiencies are common, and physicians must learn to recognize those with poor nutrition or reasons for increased vitamin needs. Now that was 2002. I don't think it's changed much. If anything, I think we're maybe a little bit more nutritional deficient than we were back then. So Dr. Cameron and I were on a flight to a convention, a veterinary convention, and he was reading an article about vitamin mineral deficiencies in humans. And he started listing different deficiencies. And as we read these and we talked about them, we were like, oh my goodness, this is like an average week at the vet clinic. We see these things all the time. Now, when I was a vet tech many, many years ago and I worked in the clinic, allergies was something that was more seasonal, okay? Now we see allergies all the time. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. We have scratchy, itchy dogs and cats all the time. So it really makes you wonder, okay, is this something that they're eating, or is it something maybe that they're not eating? Okay, we're seeing a lot more cases of cancer of young dogs. We're seeing different things as far as behavioral issues, different things like that. But these are all things that we're seeing an increase in. And Dr. Cameron, being an experienced veterinarian that he is, said, yeah, sadly, these are the same diseases that we're seeing an increase in veterinary medicine today. So here's a really great quote from Purina. No single act or influence alters the environment of the cells of the body more than the ingestion of food. Wow, that's like hitting the nail on the head. What a great quote. And this comes from the maker of Benefil. So the quote's great. Products may not be the best, but it's really true. It's really a great quote. So as a vet technician, people ask me all the time, well, is our pet food enough? Because, if you've ever seen a Benefil commercial, you're automatically convinced that this is the best pet food out there and that your dog needs to be on this forever, and that's all they need. Well, unfortunately, most of these pet foods are processed. And the problem with that is they're processed at very high temperatures, between 200 to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Did you know that vitamins and enzymes are inactivated at 112 to 117? So there's a lot of nutrition that is lost during the processing. So with standard processed products, the products are actually processed opposite. They're processed at very low temperatures, very high vacuum packed. So that ensures the best nutrition, the most nutrition are in those supplements. So eating the standard processed supplements is going to be the closest thing that you can get to eating that actual food. So unfortunately, is pet food enough? No, it really usually isn't. And this is where we fall back on that we need to complete that nutritional gap. So studies show that pets are more nutritionally deficient than ever. PetMed has put articles out there about diseases that are impacted by nutrition, such as obesity, pancreatitis, bladder stones, heart disease, and of course, diarrhea. And then there's also a documentary out there that Dr. Karen Becker put out a few years ago about pet food. Now, this is an in-depth look at the pet food industry. And, you know, as a technician, this was a really an eye-opener for me as well. I learned a lot watching this. This is about an hour-long documentation, and it's a good thing to listen to, okay? Again, I'm not against pet foods, but there's certain things that we need to be aware of. I have pets of my own. I definitely feed them pet food. I don't have the time in my day to cook a meal for all my pets and family. So, you know, there are certain things that we just have to do, but being educated on what's good and what's bad, I think, is really important. So we're going to watch the little trailer here on pet food. And then again, in your notes there, you can go ahead and watch the full documentary at your convenience.
First ingredient, ground yellow corn, chicken byproduct meal, corn gluten meal. Although this food really looks to be beautiful and something to be interested in nourishing your pet with, my recommendation is to avoid it.
The pet food industry is telling us what to feed our pets, really more based on what they want to sell us than what's necessarily good for the pet. So no corn, no wheat, no soy.
After many years of R&D, we have found that corn is still the best available source of carbohydrate.
Those are the things that cause overweight, diabetes, arthritis, chronic skin infections, allergies. Corn and wheat have become so subsidized and so cheap. It's a super cheap way to make a food for somebody who can't say no.
More than 60 million packages were taken off store shelves last month because they apparently contained wheat gluten that was tainted with the chemical melamine.
They thought they were purchasing a certain protein product called wheat gluten, when in fact they were buying wheat flour that had been laced with cyanuric acid and melamine in order to pass it off as wheat gluten.
That was a betrayal of trust.
They don't care about me. They care about my money.
You have well-meaning, lovely veterinarians recommending foods not because they have sound nutritional background, but because that's all that they know. And in 100 years' time, we have successfully convinced an entire generation of pet lovers that why would you feed anything but dog food or cat food?
All right. So if you want to educate yourself a little bit more, I would encourage you to look into Pottenger's cats. There's a book from Saline River Press that you can purchase there. It's a great study, and it was a 10-year study. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of what it was. But it was a study of over 900 cats, and this was in 1932 to 1942. And what they were studying is how dietary influences of cooked foods. Okay, this is very, very similar to the processed foods that our animals are getting today. And there was 4 basic feeding groups. The first group was raw, fresh foods, as our animals, as our cats would eat in nature. And then they have progressive levels of cooking and processing of diet in the other groups. So I kind of refer it to it as group A and group B, which would be cooked and processed food. So in the cooked group, there started to see some changes. There was bone changes, fertility problems, dental disease. The list goes on and on and on. And as each generation progressed, these problems were showing up early and earlier. So Dr. Keppel, who is also a mentor with Standard Process, him and I were talking one day, and he was, you know, he's a chiropractor, so he's like, what did you think about those bone changes? And I said, well, the long bones grew longer and skinnier. There was also some face structure changes. And he says, yeah, but isn't it kind of interesting? Do you think our kids these days are getting taller or shorter? And I thought about it. My kids are no longer in high school. They're adults now. And I thought, looking back to the kids in high school, they're really tall. Kids are really tall compared to how they were when I was in high school. We look at behavioral problems. My daughter's working with a lot of kids that have autism and ADD and different things like that. And they tend to put them on medications when many times if they just change the diet, the kids do a lot better. So it's interesting to look at some of these changes that Pottenger's cats went through, because I feel this is kind of what we look at as a society, and it's kind of concerning about what type of changes we're going through as a society. And, again, this points out what our animals are going through as well. So Pottenger's cats had a regeneration period, and they started seeing improvement in disease resistance by the second generation, skeletal improvements by the third generation, and significant regeneration, 80%, by the fourth generation. Okay, so obviously nutrition plays a huge role in stopping the progression of these diseases and also helping to rebuild and repair. So of course we're going to talk about some standard process today, and we're going to look at the vet line and what we can do and go through some of the stages of life that we have for our puppies and kittens. So let's start with the funnest phase, which would be our new pet. Okay, we have a new puppy, we have a new kitten. We all run to Petco and we get collars, bowls, puppy kitten food, a sweater. We make a vet appointment, and they get their vaccinations and this and that, but very little do we hear about nutrition. And it's not because our veterinarians don't care about that. It's because they're not really educated on that. Many veterinarians that I talked to, they had to take nutrition as an elective. Okay, I think it's getting a little bit better, but it's not something that they learn a lot about in school. So it's not that your veterinarian doesn't care about nutrition, it just may be that it may not be something that they're comfortable talking to you about. So we think about, well, what do we feed our pets then? Okay, most of us feed the same old processed dog cat food for the next 15 years. Okay, well, we talked about how those are processed at 200 to 500 degrees and that they lack the vitamins and enzymes. They also lack the plant products and or animal tissues. So if we look back and we stop and think, how did our animals eat in the wild? How did nature intend for them to eat? Well, if a lion goes out and makes a kill, what's the first thing that they eat? They eat the organs, right? They eat the kidneys and the liver and the heart and the brain. They eat the organs and the glands. Those have a much different nutritional value than chewing on a ribeye. Okay, most pet foods are, if it says all beef, well, it may be all beef, but it's muscle meat. Okay, there's a big difference between eating muscle meat than eating heart tissue. Okay, the Chinese had a saying, eat thy organ in which you wish to fortify. So up until the 1940s, if you had liver problems, your doctor might say, I suggest you might have liver a couple times a week. Well, we don't do that. And our pets don't do that. Our pets don't get those animal tissues, and they don't get the variety of plant products either. So variation is very important, and we need to rotate protein. Not all animals do well on just beef or just salmon. We need to rotate that. We need to have the variety in our pets' diets. So that means if you're sitting, if you're at home and you're chopping up dinner and a carrot goes flying across the room, let them eat it. If they run after it and they want it, that's great. Let them eat that. There's a few foods, and we can talk about those, garlics and raisins and grapes and things like that, onions, that we don't want our pets to eat, but there's a lot of fresh foods that our pets do really, really well on. And also there's a lot of pet foods out there with a high grain content. There's a big controversy on that, but technically high grains do cause inflammation with a lot of pets. So we tend to avoid those. So what we really need to do is we need to look beyond the bowl, okay? And that means looking at the standard process veterinary formulas. Again, these were formulated in 2002 by Dr. Ron Karsten. He's a veterinarian up here in Glenwood Springs in Colorado, and they are very, very broad spectrum. He realized that sending home multiple bottles with the client, owner's compliance is just not going to be very good. So he formulated these so that they have a lot of different ingredients in there. They're also manufactured with the same high standards as the human supplements. So being on the technical support for the vet line, I get a lot of calls from other practitioners. And one day I got a call from a chiropractor who was interested in some support for his dog's GI tract. And so we started talking about canine enteric support and canine immune support. And then when I was explaining to him how to dose this and how to apply it, and that they're powder, he says, oh yeah, I know all that. I use that in practice. And I said, okay, I'm not really sure how you do that because you are, you're a chiropractor and we were talking about your dog. So he says, yeah, I use it for my infants and small children because it's powder form. It's made with great ingredients that are the same human ingredients. And it's just convenient to be able to slip it into the bottle, mix it in the baby food or applesauce. And he used that for colicky kids, kids that had chronic ear infections. So the standard process veterinary formulas are very broad spectrum, and they're human-based products as well. So they're very system specific, easy to use. We have canine adrenal support, cardiac support, dermal support, enteric support for the GI tract, liver support, immune support, musculoskeletal support, kidney, thyroid, and then my favorite, whole body support. All right, so let's talk about what we would give to a puppy and a kitten. We're talking between 6 weeks to 2 years old. And the first thing I reach for is canine or feline whole body support. And we'll go into each of these briefly. Also canine and feline immune support. And then Calcifood Wafers. So canine whole body support provides a wide range of nutrients for all body systems. This can be considered a multivitamin, multimineral, enzyme, trace nutrient source. Again, it's very broad spectrum. This is a product that supports all the systems of the body, okay? We list them here: the endocrine, the digestive, liver, kidney, heart, joints, adrenal glands, immune system, and the thyroid. So hence, this does work with the whole body. So this is a great product. Dr. Cameron used to tell me all the time, if the animal is breathing, it needs to be on canine or feline whole body support. And once they're not breathing, they can discontinue it. But whole body support for every single animal out there. So I like to also add some canine or feline immune support in here, okay? Because these animals, these puppies and these kittens are going through a lot of vaccinations. They're going through deworming, stress of change. They're going from one household to the next. They're leaving mom, brothers, and sisters. They're coming into a new home. They're dealing with, sometimes they have to have flea and tick and heartworm meds. Then the upcoming spay and neuter surgeries. This is a lot of stress. When animals are under stress, it depletes their immune system. And they also go through their puppy training. Calcifood Wafers. This is a great product to use for puppies. Of course, kittens too, but I like to use the wafers as even training treats. They break in half real easy. I like to break them in fourths and give it to them as I train them. They love them. They taste great because they're cold processed bone meal. And these will provide the building blocks for bones, teeth, and connective tissue. It provides calcium and phosphorus in the correct proportions. So a lot of veterinarians get concerned with any calcium supplements because these larger dogs have a tendency to have too much calcium. And this provides the correct ratio between the two of them. And what I do is I usually continue for a good 24 months of age, which is when their growth plates start to close. These will provide enzyme factors, minerals, proteins, and a bone tissue called protomorphogen. So with dosage for these Calcifood wafers, pretty simple. And like I said, I usually break them in half, but a large dog over 50 pounds can get 5 of these a day. A medium dog between 20 to 50 can get up to 4, and then a small dog or cat can get 2 per day. So some of the guidelines I like to follow for puppies and kittens is get a weight twice a month to be sure you're dosing correctly, especially these large breeds. They grow fast. So you want to make sure that you're giving the right amount of supplements as they're growing. And then I usually go half the recommended dose for the first 10 days and then increase to full dosage. And it's not that it would be a bad thing to start off. I have a lot of veterinarians that just start off at full dose. But if you have a very sensitive stomach or an animal that's not used to good nutrition, they could develop a little bit of vomiting and diarrhea. And just to avoid that, I usually do half the dose for the first 10 days. So it's kind of the discretion of you or your veterinarian to decide, you know, if this animal is one of them that might need to do that or may not. I continue the combination of immune and whole body support for at least the first 2 years. Now, if I have a poor little puppy that comes in and he just has some serious GI issues, I might substitute whole body support for canine enteric support along with immune support until we get some of these digestive issues under control. So, you know, we can change it around a little bit if needed. All right, our adult multivitamin protocol. This is our 2-year-olds and up. And again, canine and feline whole body support. Every animal that's breathing should be on whole body support. Now, with some of our dogs, we get dogs that are over 50 pounds, and it can get a little bit more expensive to do those. And so it's a little bit more cost effective if we use the human multivitamin Catalyn. Okay, and again, these are like treats for these dogs. They love them. They're little tablets and they just eat them down. They just think they're the best treat ever. So either or, the whole body support or Catalyn. And of course, Calcifood Wafers. I think this is just a great product to keep them on. It's going to keep their bones and their teeth strong. It's going to support their connective tissue. So dosage chart according to weight. We talked about this briefly, but I put it in here so that you have it in your slides and your notes. So any animal from 1 to 50 pounds, we just do the vet line. We do canine whole body support, canine immune, and some Calcifood Wafers. Any animal over 50 pounds, we simply just dip into some of the human products, just because it's more cost effective. So we would use Catalyn or a human product that's Immuplex, that is kind of a multivitamin to support the immune system. And then again, Calcifood Wafers. So I like to look at the vet line as the Cadillac version, but if you can't do that, we've used the human line long before 2002, very safe and very effective. So when we look at Catalyn, this was Dr. Royal Lee's first product. It contains vital nutrients from whole food sources, supplies multiple vitamins and minerals for a complete, complex nutritional supplementation, and is designed to bridge the nutritional gaps that we talked about in our diet, encourages a healthy cell function, and supports just overall well-being. So in the human world, if we're just not getting from point A to point B like we want to, a lot of times when we add in Catalyn, it seems to be just what we need. So with dosage, we have that here. A large dog can get up to 6 per day. Medium dog can get up to 4 per day, and a small dog can get up to 2 per day, or cat. Immuplex contains phytochemicals, minerals, as well as protomorphogen and cytosol extracts to support the immune system, supports normal white blood cell activity, also supports the body's normal response to inflammation, provides broad mineral support for everyday immune function. And this has been a great product to use during the COVID pandemic, just to kind of keep our immune systems kids to school with this as well, just to kind of keep their immune systems up and running and doing the best they can during the school time. So with dosages, these are capsules, and I usually just open them up and sprinkle them on their food. A large dog can get up to 3 per day, a medium dog 2, and a small dog just 1 per day. Then last but not least, we have our senior pets. And again, canine feline whole body support as a base product. So with our senior pets, we know that there's usually not just one system that's starting to fail. We have multiple systems failing. So this is our second top seller in the vet line because it's just a wonderful product. I get testimonials that Rover's chasing his ball again. He's jumping up on the couch again. The stairs are a lot easier as they were before. And so, you know, with our senior pets, our goal here really is just to keep their quality of life the best that we can. And we use this a lot in combination with other products. So as they get older, let's say they have a heart condition. We've run a heart sound recording on them and we know that they've got some heart issues. We can use this in combination with either the cardiac support that we have in the vet line, or maybe we need to look a little bit more closely at using some Cataplex B or some cardiotrophin or what other products that we need to. But canine and feline whole body support is a great based product. When we have our older pets on any of these supplements, or not just older pets, maybe it's a pet that has a health condition. Maybe they're not old at all. Maybe they're like 5 or 6 and they're diabetic, or they have a thyroid issue. I would encourage you to follow up with blood work and x-rays on a regular basis just to make sure. You know, sometimes we decrease medication. Sometimes we get them off medication. Sometimes we have to change their supplements around and not give them as many as we were giving to start off with. So make sure you follow up with them. Watch for subtle changes such as attitude, appetite, hair coat. How is their behavior? Those changes are keys because if there's something happening on the outside, we know that there's things going on the inside. So our goal obviously is to have the best quality of life possible. So whole food nutrition for the whole family, right? We can take standard process ourselves, be good pet parents along with our pets. So right now I think we can go ahead and open it up to questions. Kimberly, I don't know if there's any in the chat or if anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a couple questions.
I don't have any questions in the chat right now. Let me just double check again real quick. Okay, we do look good there. I want to add just a couple things, Tracie, to this great information. Thank you so much for sharing it. I want to let everyone know that we do have some different forms that can be really helpful, especially like when you're maybe dealing with a senior pet that's starting to see some different systems breaking down or having more trouble. There's, like we do for people, there is a systems survey that you can fill out for your dog, your cat, even your horse. And so that can help us kind of guide nutrition as well that way. And I know we have just a general intake form where you can provide information, and it's a good way for us to even engage Tracie if we want to ask more questions about her recommendations in a particular case. So we do have those forms that we use in our office. And I also want to remind everybody that Carl does appointments, wellness checks for pets as well. So they, just as Tracie has explained throughout this presentation, they are really affected by nutrition like we are. And so he does some very similar testing for them, and even some emotional clearing, because they are so tuned into us. They often are picking up on our emotions too. So those are a couple other things that we have available at our office to help you guys even more with kind of dialing in on some of the nutritional needs for your furry four-leggeds.
Yeah, that's great, Kimberly. The survey you're talking about is called the Clinical Animal Nutrition Survey by Dr. Ava Frick. And it is a questionnaire that you mark a 1, 2, or 3, and it really targets what system we need to look at and gives us what priority we need to go with. So sometimes when we have like an allergy patient, we automatically think, oh, we got to look at the skin and we have to put some topicals on there and we have to do this and that, when, you know, in reality, we really need to look upstream. We need to look at what's going on in the gut and the immune system and go from there. So that form does really give us a lot of great information. So I'm glad you're using that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions or comments from anybody?
I have a question for Tracie. Have you used parotid Spanish black radish with pets?
We have used that somewhat as a detox. I know Dr. Sue Howe really, really likes to start that off. She likes to kind of clear out any toxins that these animals are dealing with before she approaches them nutritionally. So, you know, a lot of different veterinarians have their own way that they approach these cases. And the Spanish black radish, she definitely has used a lot of that. And yeah, the parotid, she's used that as well with some heavy metals. So yeah, she's gotten some great results with that.
You know, I've heard that the chemicals hover at, 18 to 20 inches above the ground. So the pesticides, fertilizers, all the dust and all the toxins or all the pollutants hover at that range where the animals are sniffing around and eating things off the ground. And so it seems that they would be so much more susceptible to toxicities.
They are, and you know, that goes for indoors and outdoors. Indoors, you know, we have the carpets and we have the furniture and the things that are going on in the house. So, you know, we don't always think about that. We think about, you know, the fertilizers and the Roundup and the stuff outside, which is, you know, definitely we need to take that in consideration. But many times we don't think about the cleaners and the carpet and, you know, just the stuff that's in our clothes and in our house. Those are very toxic and those build up in our animals. So, you know, I have people ask me at different times, well, do you do a cleanse? Because I know a lot of people like to do a cleanse. And we don't have a specific, like, this is the kit for the cleanse, but we can step aside and do some things like the parotid and the Spanish black radish and do some liver support. Some small animals, you know, maybe we just need to give them some canine hepatic support for a while and, you know, a good 3 months and start cleaning things out. So, you know, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. And the processed foods, you know, when different proteins are processed at high temperatures, we get other toxins and other problems that we have to deal with as well.
You know, and do the animals have shorter digestive tracts where we maybe don't have to do as involved a digestive cleanse?
Well, I don't think they really have a shorter track. I think they've evolved a little bit. You know, you have certain animals that can get into the trash, right, and just have no problem. And then you have some that get into the trash and now we have pancreatitis and they're on fluids and we've got a lot of issues going on. But, you know, it's really about that individual. And our animals are so inbred and, you know, they're literally like each individual person. You have to take them aside and see how they're doing. Some veterinarians are very much for raw diets. Some are very against it. And, you know, my personal opinion is you kind of have to look at that individual animal and see where they're at and how their digestive system is working. Because, you know, you may have to start from a whole different direction.
And what I learned from you, Tracie, a long time ago, let's say you are feeding kibble, even a high quality kibble, that can be even really hard on their guts just because it's so dry. Maybe it'd be like us eating a box of crackers without a drink of water or something.
Yeah.
But I've heard that can be really irritating to their guts too.
That's a great point, Kimberly. And there's a lot of studies out there that are saying that that's one of the reasons we have such renal issues in our kitties today is because if you stop and think about it, cats in the wild, there's nothing dry that they eat. You know, they're carnivores, so they get their fluids through a lot of their diet. And when they're eating dry kibble all the time, that's just, when you do that, your body has to take water reserves from other places, and it puts stress on the kidneys. And so ironically, feline renal support is our top seller in the vet line. And so it's recommended that you moisten their food, and moisten it with either warm water or bone broth, bone stock. That's great for them. That's got a lot of nutritional value to it. And people tell me, yeah, but you know, then what about their teeth? Their teeth are going to go to pot. You know, that truly is a myth. Eating the dry food really does not decrease the amount of tartar on their teeth. And what's important is about supporting the immune system of the mouth as well, and giving those Calcifood Wafers to help with the bones and teeth and support the immune system. So you're right, dry food is just not a good idea for dogs and cats. And if owners can do that, I highly recommend that. If they let their dogs kind of graze and eat here and there, you know, that's one thing. But I think if they're going to try to give them a meal, they should really moisten it and have them eat it that way. And you know, with the standard processed products, I always recommend that, because when you sprinkle the powder on there for our dogs, it sticks to it better. It's better for absorption. It's better for digestion. So, you know, it just makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll speak to our office greeter, Ruby. She couldn't be here tonight, but she's sorry to miss it. We had made the choice personally that we feed her a lot of raw, and we're curious, you know, what would happen with her teeth. And I got to be honest, she has never had her teeth cleaned. She's 10. And I often am asked, did you just have her teeth cleaned? Because they look really good. And she, so I would definitely support the dry food was not what was keeping her teeth clean, because they do look good, and she does get some Calcifood Wafers. And so I agree. You don't have to have that dry food. It's not what's keeping their teeth and their mouth up.
Well, you know, Dr. Royal Lee was a dentist also by trade. And, you know, there's a thing that they used to talk about, the canary in the coal mine is dental work. And that's kind of, you can look at somebody's teeth, and also with the animals, I believe you can look in their mouth and you can kind of get an idea how nutritionally deficient they may be. So, yeah, I think being on a raw diet makes a big difference.
And I'm going to give one other little tip to other pet owners out there, or just something to think about maybe. Even think about the water that you're providing to your animal, because sometimes when we just grew up, you know, giving the dog water out of the hose or the tap water or whatever, but we are finding that, you know, a lot of us are moving to filters and different kinds of water, because depending on your municipal source, there can be a lot of things added, like the chlorine or the fluoride. And just like it's not good for you, you got a little furry body there, and it's going to really affect them, in my opinion. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. One thing we tried so is maybe we've got a little bit better source of water for pets too.
Absolutely. And again, we talked about the toxins that these animals deal with. You know, they're getting the fluoride and all the other chemicals that are in our city waters. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Kimberly. Spring water for our pets is great. You know, if you're not going to drink it, your pets shouldn't drink it. So I would stay away from the tap water, hose water. And, you know, El Dorado spring water is great. It's got minerals in there for them, just as it does for us. So that's a really good point. Definitely need to stay away from the tap water.
Okay, guys, we're at our, are there any questions or comments for Tracie?
Well, you're kind of cutting out. I heard Tracie.
Oh, I was just saying we're at our time limit, and I was just gonna see if there was any other last question before we wrapped it up.
Well, if there's no more questions, I have one comment. Again, canine, feline, whole body support. Every animal should be on that. Every animal that's breathing, that should be their multivitamin to help maintain health. And if you're not giving that to your pets, you really need to consider it. And there's a nice brochure Standard Process has that you can get from Kimberly and Carl, and they can give you a little bit more information on that.
Yes, we definitely can, and we do stock all of these products. And if you aren't able to come to our office, there is also the ability for you to order directly. So you just need to get a code from us, and we can set you up to do that. So we look forward to working with anybody that would like to help support their animals. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
All right, thank you, guys.
Tracie, too, so much for all your support along the way and for the presentation this evening.
Anytime.
Yes, thank you.
Reach out to me if you guys have any questions. I'm happy to help you.
Will do. Thanks
All right,
all.
have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.